And we've got a fantastic show lined up for you this morning. We're going to be joined shortly by Leanne Clement. She's the General Director of Charlottesville Opera, and Bridget Eversole, the Education Director at Charlottesville Opera. And then later in the show, we're welcoming back Michael Sloan, conductor, and Christine Fairfield, Executive Director for the Oratorio Society of Virginia. So it's some of our favorite things. Well, two of our favorite organizations, but also one of our favorite things, which is music. So we're
and
really
classical
excited.
music too, if you want to be a little more
Great
specific.
music.
Great music.
Great
there
music.
you go.
So we were very excited for that this morning. Looking forward to it tremendously, and it's actually just turned into a nice morning.
Hopefully the weather begins to warm up a little bit. I think next week we should be a little warmer. Spring just took a little time to get here, but now I think it should start cranking up. Let's start cranking up.
It'll be here. I mean, it looks like spring. It's just the wind is a little chilly.
Yeah.
But that's just a great opportunity to grab your café con leche, get to a warm and cozy place, and watch some Today Mañana.
Packed house at Today Mañana.
Absolutely. Sometimes those are the most fun when we have those.
Exactly. No one wants to listen to you and me talk for like an hour. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, last time Michael was on, it was finance for 30 minutes.
Forget about it.
Oh my goodness.
If it's not Xavier talking finance, nobody wants to hear it.
Absolutely. So we are very excited for it, and it's going to be a fantastic show this morning.
Yeah, I feel bad. I booted Nick off the show. He kind of wanted to come on because it was, Charlottesville Opera, music and everything. And
that's fair. That's only fair. You're going to be your first one with these fantastic guests. So
I didn't want to be left out. There's nothing worse than what's it called, FOMO?
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be.
Well, just of course, every time Xavier would come back from the show, oh man, it was so great talking to Leanne or Michael, and then Nick would come back, oh man, what a great show.
And last week I was just stuck with you. It was like, oh man, this is terrible.
Like, oh man, after I come on, it's just Alex talking finance.
Luckily Liza's here, so I always have someone to look forward to. My girlfriend.
Exactly. And we'll get started shortly here. UVA baseball doing well as well.
Oh, did they really? I haven't been looking.
They won. They had a little start. They won. They didn't win 2 out of 3. They only won 1 out of 3 against Duke at Duke.
Okay.
But Duke was also ranked, but then they won on Tuesday, so that's
all right.
So that's good. Baseball season is upon us. Are we ready to go? All righty. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're very excited to have you joining us on a beautiful morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be joined shortly by Leanne Clement, the General Director, and Bridget Eversole, Education Director at Charlottesville Opera, followed by Michael Sloan, conductor, and Christine Fairfield, Executive Director for the Oratorio Society of Virginia. So it's a great show lined up, some fantastic music, 2 of our favorite organizations here in Charlottesville. So we're very excited to have you join us for that. Michael.
Yeah.
Good to have you on with me.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm finally here on this show.
Exactly. On the
with
music
these guests.
show.
Exactly, the music show. I know. I'm not as musically intelligent as Nick is. Nick will always ask these specific questions about music, but
but at least now we won't have any spoiler alerts. And it's always like, so how are you going to do this scene where this person dies in the third act?
Did he really do that? He did.
I think once he did. He slipped. And we're like, Nick.
Can't stand him.
That's
why we left him off this time, to be honest.
Exactly. We don't want any spoilers.
No spoilers
this time around. But it's going to be a fantastic show. Of course, love being here on the I Love CVille Network set. A couple of the big shout-outs, of course. Thank you to our presenter, Emergent Financial Services, and to our amazing partners, Trident Serious Insurance, Matias Yon Realty Forward, Adelante. Thank you, of course, our fantastic guests for watching. Be sure to send us any questions, comments you may have. I think we've already got some people tuning in. Bill McChesney already tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we got a couple more here. That Edward Herring, thanks so much for tuning in and liking it. Nicholas Erpe, of course.
Oh, you heard us bad-mouthing us?
Well, he did. He won't be able to do that for much longer because I think he has a client coming in.
Yes,
so.
well, he should be working right now anyway. I don't know what's he doing watching the show.
He's smart. He keeps an eye on. I notice Nick is smart.
Yeah.
Whenever he's not on the show, since he does so much behind the scenes with who's watching, setting up guests. He's got like one. I'll see it. He's got like one earphone in, and he's like listening to the show.
Yeah, he's got
working
the wireless like kind of like earphone thing.
He's
trying to
almost
look like
those,
a professional.
Yeah,
kind of
those
thing,
TV producers. When
Exactly.
they're like working, but they're kind of like actually listening to the thing that's going on at the same time. So he's really in his producer mode. So, and I mean, big shout out to him. Of course, he's the one that helps get all this set up.
That is true.
And running. So we're very excited for it. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to jump right in.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we're excited to welcome to the show Leanne Clement, the General Director, and Bridget Eversole, Education Director at Charlottesville Opera. Leanne, Bridget, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So maybe for people who are new, first time, maybe for each of you, just introduce yourself and a little bit like how maybe you first became connected to Charlottesville Opera.
Well, sure. So I became the general director 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And before that, I was general director at Opera Louisiana in Baton Rouge, but I grew up in Louisa County. And so when this opportunity came up, it was just a perfect fit for me to get to come back to the place where I grew up and to be closer to my family and to work for this company who has been here for 47 years. And it just really has such a strong place in the opera world, and it's a real honor to be able to lead the company.
Absolutely. And how about yourself, Bridget?
Well, I am new to Charlottesville Opera. I just came in February.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank
welcome.
you. It's very exciting. I moved to Charlottesville around 2017 and have been teaching voice in the community and taught at PVCC. I'm teaching voice at UVA. And Leanne and I had lunch a couple of years ago and hit it off and had a lot of the same philosophies on opera and education and all of that stuff. So last spring I was able to do some of the outreach events with the Boys and Girls Club, which was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And then it just worked out that I was able to start this position as the education director.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the education programs. I know we've talked in the past, obviously, about the shows and the Emerging Artists Program, but tell us a little bit about what the education program is at Charlottesville Opera.
So we are kind of growing the education program, figuring out what we can do in all aspects, getting out to the Charlottesville community. As I said, we did the Boys and Girls Club in the spring. Kids Fest is a big thing that we have in the summers. Lots of wonderful programs that you can check out on the Charlottesville Opera website. But one upcoming event that we're very excited about is a program at the Paramount in conjunction with the Paramount on April 23rd for students in grades 3 through 7 for all of the surrounding schools. It's a free event, and basically we built this program from scratch, and it's all about finding your voice, whether that's your singing voice or whether you're into stage managing or directing or conducting or anything, lighting design. And so really taking a journey with the singers and all of the other different aspects of opera and letting the students see how many wonderful things there are to do in opera. Even if you're not a singer, there's so many other things, and just helping them to find their own voice, which is going to be exciting.
So I'm actually curious. So someone who doesn't know anything about singing and like voice and stuff like that, what's a good age for children, or if parents have the children that they think they have a good voice, like what's a good age for them to start actually taking like vocal lessons and working like on building up their diaphragm or something or another,
whatever
like building up their voice. Yeah, whatever muscles are associated with voice.
Well, I always say when you have somebody who's a young child coming in, I encourage parents to get them in piano or violin or some instrument like that, and then find a children's choir. And we've got lots of really wonderful children's choir in town. And then usually it's around middle school into high school where it's an appropriate time to start having the formal voice lessons.
Formal training, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for the event, I'm curious on the 23rd, I believe you said. Will it be like a combination of some songs to kind of get the children interested, but also like little education snippets? What can like people expect to like for the kids?
You'll get a little bit of all of that. I mean, what we've, as Bridget said, we've kind of created this to show not only great opera and great music and to demonstrate that, but also to have people who are creating that music talk as well.
Okay.
So throughout the show, we'll have different artists as well as our stage team, our crew, talk about how they found their own voice in in little segments, just to give kids an inspiration. Because what I've found is that unless kids can really make a connection with an individual, it's hard to say, oh, look at this big production, where could I fit into it? But if you see someone on stage who looks like you, who you can identify with, who you think, oh, that could be me in the future, then it's believable, and we're hoping that the kids will get inspired by that.
And I think it makes perfect sense. Is if you sometimes I think opera, if they only just saw the final performance, it would look daunting because you see these people who clearly on stage, opera singers, you have a presence, the voices are projecting, use all this music, the sets. I mean, particularly Charlotte's Opera, the sets are beautiful, and you would sit there and say, oh man, it's such a high-end production. How could I ever enter into that world, because these people are so talented, they're so good at what they do, but to kind of show them, I mean, like, you're normal people. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, you can, with time and training and talent, obviously it's not like there's no talent, but there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's a place where you can kind of work your way and fit into that world, even though the final product just looks so impressive. There are real people that behind the scenes that actually make that happen.
That's right. And as we wrote the script, we tried to write in real issues that singers face, issues that lighting designers come up against. And so throughout the show, kids get to watch us kind of deal with those issues. And then the individuals talk about how they deal with it, how they deal with stage fright, how they deal with something that's complex, like the Paramount Theater, which is not built for opera, but it's a beautiful space. And so how do we make that work with projections and things of that sort? So it's really it allows people to talk openly about challenges in the opera world, but also to see that opera singers and people who create opera are real people too.
And it's for everyone. It's for all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, after that, I would learn. I mean, I remember when Nick went to one of the like dress rehearsals to do his little review.
Yes.
And he said one of the things that struck him most was that, you go to a final performance of an opera and everything just goes seamlessly. And you're like, oh man, how do they just like come out the way? And he said he was shocked because in the dress rehearsal, the director, this was I think for last year's musical for Guys and Dolls, the director would be like, stop, move that lamp this way, put that there, and he realized even to the last minute, in essence, right? You're making this tweak, you're making that change, you're working on this. So it just, what goes on behind the scenes are really kind of just simple things. It's problem solving, it's challenges that you face everybody at work, faces, okay, I have to deal with this, I have to fix this. That didn't go as planned, especially probably with the Paramount, right? You're like, oh man, that's not the ideal place, but what can we do with this space? And then it does end up looking like a beautiful final performance, right? But if you only saw the final performance, you'd think it's so good, you'd think, oh man, they just get up there and like,
It's
Right.
magic.
it goes magically.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And there is some magic to theater. I think there is somehow the show always comes together, but it's because of the work of so many individuals. We have 140 company members who come together during the summer to create our productions, and we have great partners like the Paramount Theater, who is our partner for this event, which is called Sing Me a Story.
Sing Me a Story.
And that's the name of this education program. And it's I just want to mention that it wouldn't be possible without the support of the Joseph and Robert Cornell Memorial Foundation, who gave a grant to both Charlottesville Opera and the Paramount to put this on together in conjunction, and again to offer it free. And that's a big part of Charlottesville Opera's initiative to reach out to our community. We'll have this free event for kids. We have how many students attending?
Almost 700.
Almost 700 registered.
And there's still some space. If people are interested, they can
Wow.
log on to the Paramount's website and
Yes.
find more information.
But in addition to this, during our summer season of 6 weeks, we have 10 performances and events that are free of charge to the community. We have this big Arts for All festival that actually features our conductor you're going to see later on today, Michael Salon, and the Oratorio Society, our partners there. And we put on this big event, and it's free to the community. It's at Ting Pavilion this year on June 29th. And again, it's an opportunity for the community to come out and experience live classical music and professional classical music. This is, everything we do, we put the highest standards to. And in addition, we have a masterclass series that we offer free of charge, several other performances. But that's part of what Charlottesville Opera is about, is making classical music accessible to the community. And sure, we have great main stage season performances, and those are ticketed events. But in addition to that, we have these 10 free events each summer.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, that's pretty great, bringing the community, especially younger kids. Because my brothers and I, we kind of grew up. Our parents were kind of a little more old school, so we kind of grew up a little more classical music and opera.
Well, I mean, helps
especially
our
with
father, yeah. He
loved
grew
opera.
up around that because, one grandmother loved opera,
But
and
the other one
worked
worked.
for the Met.
Yeah.
Up in New York doing the costume
Yeah,
design.
so-
So our dad kind of grew up in that world. But for a lot of kids,
Today, it's tough to kind of get accessibility to that kind of musical world. Everyone's kind of stuck in YouTubes and like music videos and stuff like that. But I think it's nice to have an entry that, especially at a young age, they can kind of see. I did have a question too. So for the kids program, do they get to kind of go behind the stage too? Is that like there's demonstrations of like raising curtains and all that stuff too?
Absolutely. So they'll get to see some, the stagehands moving set pieces, and we have 3 characters who are actually played by Bridget, myself, and Caroline Wara, our artistic director. That we're the stage director, the artistic director, and the stage manager. That's right. And so that you see us all kind of working together, and that's a big part of it, is to show. These are all the things that happen backstage while the show is going on. We also have an orchestra there. We have a 5-piece orchestra that'll be on stage and do demonstrations, and so the kids will get to
see
experience
the different
that.
instruments and how they
Exactly.
work.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing.
And all of this, I mean, yes, it's important for kids to experience music, but I think it goes beyond that. And maybe Bridget can say a little more about the education focus, what music brings to kids, and just opening their eyes to what what's possible out there, and that maybe it's not just your doctor or a lawyer. Not that those things aren't good, or in finance, as you all are, but that there are jobs in the arts that are really fulfilling as well.
And even if it doesn't become your job, just being a part of the arts, whether it's as an audience member or singing for your church or a local choir, all of these things are really important and just help a person's whole self, I think, which is really important. And I think that's one of the things. Just again, to show that it's not an overwhelming experience. I mean, I was in college when I saw my first opera, which, how cool would it have been if I had been younger? And I thought, oh my gosh, this is actually pretty cool. This isn't like old people stuff.
Yes.
And so I think that's it, is just teaching us that it's accessible and it can help us all on so many levels. So.
Absolutely, especially I think in today's day, so sometimes there's always those pendulums, and I think sometimes we're in a little bit of the pendulum swing where like the arts are kind of derided as like, the arts is the low-paying stuff. That's where, if you come out of college with an arts degree, you've probably wasted 4 years and $50,000, right? But that there are actually careers, and sometimes what you have to do though is broaden your perspective of what jobs aren't there, because if you go into the arts and you think, okay, it's singer or bust, then you might come out of it and say, oh man, I didn't get to be a singer, I wasted 4 years. I said, well, no, there's a lot of positions. With 104 cast members, they don't all sing on stage.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And we've all, we've all done that. I started as a singer, and I realized that was not the life for me. But here I found my career in arts administration. And especially during COVID, so many singers had to pivot, and there are no jobs anymore. And not only singers, but stage hands and stage managers. Shows aren't happening. You've got to find something else. And being in the arts makes you really adaptable and creative at solving problems. And so we've seen lots of folks who have found other careers and things that are very fulfilling that allow them to continue their craft as well.
Oh, absolutely. I remember even in other fields, I think like you said, it makes you creative and think and helps you to think outside the box. And I remember even in our own field, I remember once seeing a major private equity firm that these guys, it was two guys that they would look for companies that they could help and grow and turn them into something bigger. And their backgrounds were like, one was the arts, I forget what, like something completely, and the other guy was a religious studies major. So you had basically a philosophy guy and an arts guy, and they built this successful company. You would say, how on earth do you end up in finance after doing that? But they both are, in the interview that they had done, they both said, we wouldn't be as good at what we do if it weren't for that, because otherwise we would have come out of finance school thinking, this is how you do things, this is how a company needs to be run, and if it's not run that way, it's a lousy company. And they were able to look at things and say, well, no, if you just change this or do that, this boring trash company can become a very successful trash company. You can do different things, but they both credited their kind of liberal arts background for helping them do that. And it just broadens your perspective in so many ways, because you're using that other part of your brain, but you're even in an arts field, you're facing, all right, here's a problem, how do I solve it?
Right.
And oftentimes quickly.
Yes, exactly, because you don't have a lot of time there. But it's also about how you interact with other people.
Yes.
I think about, that's a big part of the arts, is that you have to work together. Yes. And we have, these 140 people, they all have to work together in that, 1 3-hour segment to make the show come together. And that's a big thing that I love about having these 700 kids come into this room to sit next to each other, kids that go to different schools and who otherwise might not ever meet or see each other, but they're going to sit in this room and they're going to have this emotional experience next to one another, and they're going to see that, oh, this is something different, something that I could be involved in. And to me, that's a wonderful thing about the arts, is helping us to relate better to one another, and I just think that's so important.
Yeah,
It's
all grounded in the teamwork.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's really at the heart of it, because, with rare exceptions, almost all music is a whole bunch of people trying to be in time with one another.
I know, think about an orchestra, right?
An orchestra is a whole bunch of people playing instruments, trying to be in sync. And then you add opera, it's like the lighting guy has to be in sync, the stage hands have to be in sync, where you are on the stage movement-wise compared to the other people. I remember last year when we went to see Guys and Dolls, just the dancers. So, you're going across the stage, two groups like this, and when they pass through each other, you can't bang into the guy, you'd have to be in sync. And so just that level of teamwork at the same time to put together something is a great example, I think, for kids to see.
That's right, and I hope that's what they do see on the 23rd. That they watch how this all happens, and it's exciting to be a part of that. To think that, oh, I'm one part of this big picture.
Yeah.
And listen, even if you inspire one child, that's worth it in the end.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I will say that this is how Bridget said that she saw her first opera when you were in college. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So I saw my first opera anything when I was in 6th grade, because a school, Virginia Opera came to my middle school.
Wow.
And I had no experience with opera before that, but I remember that moment. I remember the seat I was sitting in when they came in, and these folks walked on stage, and this woman who looked like me, she had broad shoulders and big cheekbones, and she got up there and she sang, and I just remember that moment that I thought, I want to be like that. I want to have that kind of control. The room was just drawn to her, and to see those folks working together to create something so incredible was life-changing for me, because before that I was as shy could be, and you would never have got me on a stage. But it certainly planted the seed, and I hope that that's what Sing Me a Story will do on April 23rd for these 700 kids or more.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will, because it really is, and just from a perspective of like careers, but also just having a general appreciation for the arts and the emotion that you can experience with opera, the story, the appreciation for what goes in there. I think it really does change you as a person when you watch these things, and helps you to become a more well-rounded person, even if you don't end up working in the career, just to have an appreciation of it, and to get, and I did just a beautiful thing that for a lot of these kids, my hope is that their first now experience of opera will not be like the Hollywood version, where like, it just bugged me so often, like Hollywood opera, the first time you see it, it's some bad guy attending an opera, and you're like, they're looking for him, and like he's in the box seat, and you're like, okay, yeah, bad people listen to opera and classical music, right? The villain always does it, but like their first experience of it will not be this pretentious thing, but like their first experience of opera will be, wow, this is what all these things that happen that are really cool behind the scenes, and then when they sing and the music plays, it's a beautiful sound. And I just think it'll be awesome to have that be, just for a lot of these kids, their first experience of opera, or maybe even classical music as a whole. So I'm really proud that you guys are putting this on.
Well, that's definitely our hope. And, some of the pieces they may have heard in commercials or in film or something. So just making the connections that this is where it all comes from. And again, making it accessible is the biggest thing.
Absolutely. So if people are interested, I know you said there's still a few slots left, where would they need to go? So it's going to be Tuesday, April 23rd at 10:15 a.m.
Yes, at the Paramount, and they have to register on the Paramount's website. I think it's ParamountTheater.net.
So I think it's the Paramount.
The Paramount. Oh, thank you.
Close
the
one. Yeah,
Paramount.
I've got it here. Yeah, the Paramount.net.
TheParamount.net, and then they have an education tab. And under that, there's a spot for them to register.
There's a spot for them to register. There's also a study guide that they can take a look at beforehand. There's some activities for them, giving them some explanations of what they'll see. And I think it's going to be a really fun day for them. So
definitely.
Well, 700 kids is going to be a packed house. It's going to be a little
yes, we're excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
We talk about energy in the room.
That's right.
There will be energy.
For sure.
Absolutely. So that one is on April 23rd, and then June 29th, people can look forward to this year's festival, which is another free event at Team Pavilion.
That's right. And that, as I mentioned, will be with the Oratorio Society and the Charlottesville Ballet as our partners. We'll also have tent partners that will be there to have activities for kids from 5 to 7. 7 o'clock is our concert with conductor Michael Slon, who you all are going to talk with next. And then our season this year, we have the Music Man, and that is June 21st through 23rd at the Paramount, and then the Elixir of Love, which is July 12th and 14th. And both of these are super family-friendly shows.
Oh, yes.
Elixir of Love is one of my favorite Italian operas, because it's so lush, full of chorus music. It is, and it's all about red wine. So there's, there's nothing wrong with that.
What's not to love? I would say it is one of my favorites as well. There's a song, it has one of my favorite all-time opera songs, which is the one that I'm not going to try to hum it because I do a terrible job.
You can sing it, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's the one that the con man sings.
Oh, Duca Mara.
When he's trying to sell them the elixir of love. And two definitely family-friendly, lighthearted.
Yes.
But both about con men. What was that?
Yes.
Was that a theme that was going?
There might have been a theme. I mean, a little bit unintentional, but it is definitely a theme. And actually, as far as education goes, we're going to have a lecture on April 24th with Ollie at UVA, and that's a free also event for folks to sign up, and that's on our website where people can come and hear. I'm going to talk a little bit about the con man in both the Elixir of Love and Music Man.
And because I know we're having you back on before those come to talk.
Yep.
Nick will probably get himself onto that show to talk
He'll
about
sneak in the studio
the two performances upcoming this year. So if people before we let you both go, if people want to find out more, so theparamount.net is the place to go to register. And you're exactly right. Yeah, you find arts education, you find this Sing Me a Story, and you click this nice big button that says groups under 150 register here. And so that's pretty much everyone will be under 150. And then where can people find out more for the rest of the season?
At charlottesvilleopera.org. And you'll see there, we have Bridget's contact is there also, and she'll be with us, going forward through the summer. So we're excited to have her continuing our education program and as our education director. And she's just it's a real benefit to have her here with us in Charlottesville.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're glad to have you on board, and really just appreciate what you guys are doing to not just bring great opera to Charlottesville, but bring great opera to a new generation of kids in an accessible way. So thanks so much for
thank you both
for doing it. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it, and we'll look forward till next time.
exactly.
Okay.
Alrighty, so as we go ahead and pull a little swap-a-roo here. Yeah, no, it's gonna be
It's
a
great
great
making
season.
opera and just like you were talking about, everything that happens behind the scenes more accessible to younger kids.
Absolutely.
Because as older people probably can figure out exactly what goes on behind the scenes, even though, to be honest, I probably actually don't even know what goes on behind the scenes.
There is still the magic of the stage.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, be honest, I was kind of like wondering whether I could sneak into that thing, put my name as like a 70.
Should you pretend to be in
Yeah,
seventh
exactly.
grade?
I want to see how, like behind the scenes and the stage and all that.
Absolutely. We've got some more people tuning in. Treyanne Chist, thanks so much for watching this morning. Michaela Hatfield, thanks for tuning in. Montaigne Camphor, thanks for tuning in this morning. Appreciate everyone who is watching the show this morning and sending us your thumbs up, your likes, and your questions and comments. So really appreciate everyone tuning in. And from one set of great guests to another, we're excited to welcome back to the show Michael Sloan, the conductor, and Christine Fairfield, executive director for the Oratorio Society of Virginia. Michael, Christine, thanks so much for coming back on this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, as always.
No, it's always a pleasure, always a pleasure. So last time I think we had you on, it was pre-Christmas.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long. It's been that long. So the Christmas concert was beautiful, I have to say. It was just stupendous. Just to hear all those voices sing some really familiar tunes in expected and unexpected ways. I did really enjoy. You had told me I would enjoy the song of the Sugar Plum Fairy, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, and that was very good to hear that sung. What else has Oratory Society been up to since we last had you on?
Well, first, go ahead, Christy. I was just saying thank you for coming. Always great to have you,
always
your family
Absolutely.
in the audience. Yeah.
Yes. What have we been doing? We gave another concert in March, Together in Song, our annual community benefit event, and also a community choral workshop.
Yes.
And we had over 70 choral workshop participants. And so for the second half of that concert, there were 160-some voices on stage.
On stage. And this ranged from like maybe high schoolers or even a middle schooler.
We had some middle school students.
Up to retirees.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And we were really delighted to have a youth chorus join us for part of that as well. It's a new ensemble that Will Cook began specifically with no financial barrier so any teen interested in learning more, experiencing more choral music can participate.
Right, so it's
And
called Voces Lete.
It's called Voces Lete, yeah.
Just like that.
So that was really fun, and that program was opera and Broadway music, and it ended just like it gave everybody goosebumps. People were standing up and
Just to talk about it, since you asked what we've been doing, there were really two pieces. One was a medley of Climb Every Mountain from Sound of Music and You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel, Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Okay, yes.
Incredibly inspiring. Could have ended
Yes.
almost any concert.
Easily.
And then, but we actually ended with One Day More from Les Mis, which some of your listeners may recall. Incredibly inspiring music. And so it was a lot of fun to do that program.
yeah.
And it also benefited the Boys and Girls Club, right?
Indeed, it
Of
did.
the
Another great organization. See,
Yes.
that's one of the things I love because we've had so many wonderful organizations in Charlottesville, and it's amazing how many are always working with each other, collaborating, benefiting a third organization.
As it just shows with your previous guest, I mean, Leanne and Bridget, Leanne and the two of us and several groups have been collaborating now for several years with the opera, which is tremendous. So.
Absolutely. So it's a beautiful thing. I just love that kind of the great work together, and we of course we as the audience get to benefit from it every time. So before we get to a certain major performance in May,
Don't rush, Alex. Don't
I'm
rush.
not going to rush there.
Don't rush it.
There's a couple things, exciting things coming up very soon. Tell us first. I think it's tomorrow. Is speaking of collaboration between the UVA Chamber Singers and the Center for Politics. So tell us a little bit about that. What's that collaboration?
So yeah, thanks, Alex. So as your listeners will know, I'm also the director of choral music at University of Virginia, and so our two groups, Chamber Singers and University Singers, our curricular courses, both have big concerts coming up tomorrow. I'm excited to say that we have this collaboration with Larry Sabato and the Center for Politics, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary at UVA. And I think Larry is celebrating his 50th anniversary here.
Wow.
And he and I had run into each other. I was walking to Boda's one day, right by UVA on the corner. And it was in the summer, it was quiet. We started to chat a couple years ago. And we came up with this idea, what if you did a concert of campaign songs across the era? I mean, from George Washington forward. And so tomorrow night, it is coming to reality in this very special concert where we will do, the Chamber Singers will do from Hail Columbia, which was the original national anthem, and then go through a whole number of campaign songs up into the 20th century. And the Center for Politics, because it has tremendous connection to a lot of major figures, has brought in, for example, Martin Luther King III, Martin Luther King's son, who will introduce one of the selections. And there are other political celebrities that will be around this weekend. So it's quite exciting.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
That's
I
a
didn't
major
even realize
event.
Major,
Yeah. And just a special thing is I didn't realize we actually still had, like, we knew what campaign songs.
Well,
So,
you know,
from
it's
the past,
interesting because based on a period when people, I was just talking to Daily Progress about this, when people would sing because they didn't have recordings, excuse me, they would make the music themselves. So in the 19th century, we have more kind of homegrown campaign songs. Now, what tends to happen is that a candidate will borrow a song that's a popular song.
Yes.
That happens more often. That certainly happened in the past. But so we don't go actually past the 1970s in this.
Which makes
in
sense,
this
since they
concert.
probably haven't
Right.
written that many.
Right. Most people now borrow. But I think it's exciting. That's at 8 o'clock tomorrow at Old Cabell Hall. And the tickets are available, artsboxoffice.virginia.edu, and maybe you can share that, and or right at the door. People can walk up.
Okay, you can do it if you have.
We should alert potential audience members, there will be tomorrow some security measures, so clear bag policy.
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically pretend as though you're going
Like
to a
game.
UVA sports
Like
game.
it's a sports event.
So be prepared for that. And so that was tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
at 8 p.m.
Friday, April 5th, yeah.
at Old Cabell. And yep, you're absolutely right. Music.virginia.edu. You can get to a bunch of things on the calendar, and you can click
And
the
also,
link
yeah,
to
Arts
the
Box
tickets in the
Office.
Arts Box
Yeah,
Office.
Virginia.
So I have a quick
So-
question. So you said like they have like even campaign songs from George Washington. How do we know what they even sounded like?
Well, because the music is written down, fortunately. Oh. Yeah. So
My question was, how did you find
Yeah.
all of
That's
that
not
repertoire?
a question.
Because that's not going to be like standard
Some of
sheet
it-
music that you
people
would
have-
just order.
Yeah, that's everything was homemade. Yeah, great question. The Center for Politics has people, shall we say? So they did some research, and then I added to that my own research, and we made additions. Even some of the students helped put additions into computer notation software. And Hail Columbia, that was the one it's more like a song. It wasn't really a campaign song, But from John Adams on, they are really like campaign songs. Jefferson's one that we're doing is a great like fiddle tune, like a jig with new words. We've got High Hopes, where Frank Sinatra rewrote the lyrics.
For who? Who did
For
he do
Kennedy. Hello Lyndon, which is a take on Hello Dolly.
So cool.
And Tippecanoe and Tyler too, which is one of the better known
Yes,
ones.
that's okay.
But the Library of Congress has some resources, and you go online and you can research these scores. And then some we have arranged for chorus. Some were already arranged for chorus.
Wow.
And we just had to adapt them.
That's
So we'll have piano and a Baroque fiddler. David McCormick will also join us for.
Oh,
some-
David Victoria, yes, we had him on recently, Early Music Access Project.
for
Yes.
some of the selections.
For the-
I think it's fascinating. Everybody should come hear it. There's also a live stream link if people can't get there.
Wonderful. That does sound and like a very unique. When I first saw it, I'm like, the Center for Politics. How is he going to like collaborate with them? Do they sing? And what are you?
We'll do the singing. They'll do the talking.
They'll do the talking. And but just a great opportunity to hear things that you probably have not heard before.
No.
And may well never hear again.
Correct.
Unless you do it again.
Well, because some of these people, as it happens, aren't running for office anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's amazing. And then you have another one coming up.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So it'll be the North American premiere with the university singers of Eric Eschenwald's
Eschenwald's,
St. Luke's Passion. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
So we are really excited about this at UVA. We've had a bunch of special guests this semester, and we're going to cap it off with the university singers are bringing in Eric Eschenwald's, who is a Latvian composer who, would you agree, Christine, he's world famous in
He's definitely in
choral
choral music
music.
circles.
He is world famous now, and has written some gorgeous music. And by miracle, he was available. We're flying him in from Latvia.
He's at the composer.
He will be here from Wednesday to Saturday as part of a residency next week. The concert's on Saturday, April 13th at 8 o'clock, Old Cabell Hall. But he will come all week and work with our students. We'll do several of his pieces. He has several, Sarah Teasdale, the poet, famous setting, Stars, and a piece called Only in Sleep. A lot of choirs do this. But this St. Luke's Passion, it's about a half-hour piece, chorus, orchestra, and soloist. I found it online, and when I got in touch with him and his agent, he said no one has done it really outside Latvia. And I would be thrilled to have you not only give the North American premiere, but try to open it up to new audiences. It's a really good piece. So we'll be doing that for the first time outside of Latvia next week.
And you said it's called St. Luke's Passion?
Yeah, the Passion according to St. Luke.
Okay, all right. So they basically sing that portion of the Bible?
So you'll know there's historic kind of passion settings, most famously Bach.
Bach, yeah.
Right, St. Matthew and St. John. And those are very long and literal. This is much shorter, right? In a half hour, you're not going to probably be able to set the
Sing
whole
the whole
passion
thing,
story. What he did is he took several segments of that story, and he actually interpolates other material, including a gorgeous poem by Christina Rossetti about the prodigal son story. And he interpolates that with the passion, the crucifixion story, such that I think in a way he sets up, there's that aspect of the two thieves on the crosses beside Jesus. And he, in a way, it's almost like a prodigal son story connects to that. And he literally sends a solo singer away from the group, out of the auditorium, like the prodigal son. He sings, "I want my inheritance," he leaves. And then at the end of the piece, on this beautiful Rossetti text, which starts, "Does that lamp still burn in my Father's house?" He brings the soloist back.
Oh,
It's powerful.
that's
So I hope
beautiful.
people can join us to experience this music.
Absolutely, and what a gift that we're able to just enjoy these things. Just because, I mean, how often do you live in a place where you experience, I mean, essentially a world premiere, not including the composer's home country,
That's right.
of a piece
Yeah.
of this magnitude,
Yeah.
which is just such a blessing and it's so amazing.
Yeah.
So that will be April 13th.
That's right, Saturday
at 8 p.m.
at Old Cabell, and all the same sites will work.
Okay, perfect.
Artsboxoffice.virginia.edu.
Wonderful.
So thanks so much, for taking a minute to talk
Oh,
about
of course. And that's if you're a UVA student, that one is also, you might be a little short to get your free ticket for the one you're still 24
Got
hours
the-
in advance. You still have time for tomorrow, too.
If you're a student.
Free
yeah.
UVA student ticket reserved 24 hours in advance, so you still have like 7 hours to pull that off. And then you have plenty of time, if you're a UVA student, to get a free ticket for that one. And then the general audience, I mean, for $15. It always amazes me how
Exactly.
how UVA pulls that off.
I
But
guess
for
we should raise
$15,
prices. But
you
the
can
idea
enjoy
is,
a world of
no,
music.
the idea is to make
make
it
it accessible.
accessible
Yeah.
to the public.
which is a beautiful thing. So be sure to check both of those out. Again, like Michael said, UVA Arts box office always has the full calendar. Music.virginia.edu will also have some of these listed on its calendar of events. So be sure to check both of those out. And then Michael has.
Wow, no, I mean, really, I was going to ask the question, but I know you want to ask it.
No, go for it. No, you do it. You do it.
Okay, we want to know what's coming in May.
Wow. Yeah, that's
We
why
know, but we want
Christine's here
everyone
too,
to
so
know.
this is Oratorio Society. I've talked for a minute. I'm going to let Christine talk for a
Christine,
minute.
what do we look forward to?
Yeah, and then I'll jump in.
Well, something really special that we've been working on behind the scenes since the fall even. We got some of the music for this already to our chorus members and started rehearsing as early as September. So we are celebrating nearly to the day the 200th anniversary of the premiere of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in Vienna. So May 7th, 1824, in Vienna, Beethoven's Ninth was first performed for an audience, and it blew people away because that never before had a chorus been part of a symphonic work. And unfortunately, we don't have time on our program to do the whole symphony, but we are doing that final movement. That is, of course, probably one of the most popular parts of that work, with some incredible vocal soloists and an orchestra, of course. And we have 2 opportunities for our audience members to hear this concert. One will be Friday, May 10th at Grisham Hall, which is the fairly new and really wonderfully acoustic space at St. Anne's Belfield School on Ivy Road. So that's Friday night, May 10th at 7:30, and then we will give it a second time at Old Cabell Hall at UVA on Sunday, May 12th at 3:30. So in addition to the final choral movement of Beethoven's Ninth, we're also going to perform, our orchestra will, an overture, Beethoven overture, and Michael can talk about that a little more, and then the choral fantasy, which is for chorus and orchestra and a phenomenal piano soloist.
Is that a Beethoven work as well?
That is also a bit. It's all Beethoven.
That one is new to me.
The whole concert is Beethoven.
Nick is probably saying for shame, but that one is new to me.
No, you're going to love it, and here's why. It's a great pairing because it is like a mini version of the Ninth Symphony. Way before he wrote the Ninth. So he has this piece. His piano starts out, it's like a concerto. The orchestra comes in.
Very virtuosic.
And then toward the end of the piece, the chorus comes in a very joyful tune that sounds like a prefiguring of the Ode to Joy.
Like his
in
the
Ninth
early
Symphony.
formulation
It's an
in
early
his
version.
mind.
Right.
Oh, amazing. And what will be the overture? Or have
So you're right. The significance of that, we're going to play the Consecration of the House Overture, which was played the same day the Ninth premiered. That date, May 7th. There's also that Mehr Stille, beautiful short piece about calm seas and prosperous voyage. I was excited. You know, when I thought of this back last year when we were coming up with our programs a year ago, and I looked at the calendar and I thought, wow, we could do it almost to the day, 200th anniversary. And so I'm glad of the idea, but I'm also glad the Oratorio Society, with Christine's help, but our whole organization really has gotten behind this idea and made it possible, not just in a musical sense, but in a financial and an infrastructural, organizational sense.
Yeah.
So, and I think hopefully people will be very excited to hear that along with these other.
it's an amazing
It is. I mean,
undertaking.
and Beethoven's Ninth is pretty daunting. I mean, there's a lot. It's a huge orchestra and a lot of voices. If I remember when we saw it once, was it like?
Well, I
almost a
remember when
decade
we
ago?
had seen it, it was so big that I remember when Charlottesville Symphony did it several years ago, they had both of them at the MLK Junior Performing Arts
And
Center.
the reason was because we had, I prepared 2 courses for my colleague Kate Tamarkin on that one, the University Singers and the Oratory Society, and there was no way to fit 160 singers in Old Cabell Hall.
Old Cabell,
Yeah.
And
So-
it's going to be snug.
I was about
with
to
our
say,
90
with your
singers
90.
and 40, and 40 plus orchestra
That'll be snug.
and soloists. But
As it always is.
yeah. It'll be really fantastic. And tickets are on sale for both the May 10th and May 12th. We are also offering a live stream option only for the Friday night at Stab.
Where are the tickets?
So tickets on our website, or you can get links to the places where you can get those tickets on our website, oratoriosociety.org. And yeah, that'll just take you. There's a link on the homepage and our performance
Nice
tab.
big performances tab,
Straight
and then when you
to-
scroll down,
to the
boom,
event.
tickets available, and
Right
click
there. Yep.
and click the link. So I'm curious, what Christine, from a maybe you can talk about just from the singers and technical perspective, and then Michael maybe a little from the musical perspective. What goes into preparing for a piece of this size, even just the one movement is
Well,
big.
probably one of the more challenging elements is that we're doing all of the choral music will be in the original German. So there's a lot of diction coaching involved and resources that we share with our singers. And Beethoven, as many people know, became deaf during his lifetime and continued to compose. And one of probably the major criticisms of his compositional style, especially when he was still living, was that his writing for the voice was sometimes considered a little bit outside of
The
the
actual-
normal average vocal capabilities. So it's very high for all of the parts. It remains high. And so a lot of what we are being coached wonderfully by our fabulous maestro is how to warm up that sound, how to make it keep the stamina through the whole concert program, because it is a bit taxing.
yeah, so it's a
for the
physical
singers.
as well
It's
as
very
a mental
physical.
challenge.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow,
But it's coming together really
Athletic,
nicely. Yeah,
almost.
the rehearsals are sounding
Exciting.
really great.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Yeah.
I did not know that. I guess being a listener, I wouldn't know
Yeah.
what is, outside the normal range. Although that is such a classic. You would like to ascribe it to his becoming deaf, but it kind of fits in with the personality of Beethoven as well. It's like, they can do it. They can pull this off.
I think you're right, Alex. I think that's actually very insightful, because Christine's 100% right about the challenges. What we should know, if it's all right if we talk music in depth here for a
absolutely.
minute, Beethoven is really pushing the orchestra and the chorus. There is hard writing for the orchestra in that symphony. And then there's no question that he writes the chorus in a high tessitura at times for length of time. He also achieved some extraordinary effects that have kind of become eternal in the world of art. And I think you might be right. Chorus members at the premiere or around the premiere asked him to change the parts,
So there was
and he refused. And I think you're right. If he could hear them better, I'm not sure he would have changed a note, because I think his vision was clear and he did what he wanted to do. And while you can quibble with that a little, I think there's a couple things to remember when we talk about the ninth in a rather serious way, actually. One is, here is a man who was deaf, basically, who was, to your point, he was a bit of a curmudgeon and, perhaps a bit antisocial and various other things. There's theories why. And yet he created this piece. He put in the time and the effort without being able to hear it to get on paper this extraordinary work of art. That in itself seems like a miracle.
yes.
On top of that, it has become culturally, he saw something ahead of his time maybe. Culturally, this is kind of one of the most pervasive and influential works of art that the world has ever seen. That's ever been created by a human being. So, and it seems to touch people around the world. You see it, when political things are happening, people see it at like the Berlin Wall or
Yes.
Tiananmen Square or whatever, what have you. People see it as this unifying human anthem.
Every once in a while, I will go back, because it's a grainy recording, but I will go back and just listen to the one that Leonard Bernstein did at the fall of the Berlin Wall, where he changed the word, because in German you can change the word joy to freedom and it sounds
Freiheit.
almost the same.
Yeah, Freude and
Freude and
Freiheit.
Freiheit. So he changed that one word after and did the performance at the Brandenburg Gate, I think after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
You're so right, and it was a performance that was so powerful because it involved musicians from both sides of the wall and from around the world. It was kind of a quintessential unifying moment in human culture. I'm glad Bernstein got to see that, right before he passed away the next year, and I think for him, that fall of the wall was certainly, for all of us,
Yes.
a significant human moment in a positive way. We have plenty of negative, but that was very
Well, and the
positive.
last, I think for him too, probably the last culmination of the end of World War II, because it just, the existence of that separation kind of perpetuated so much there. And just to see that happen, and
is
for that to become the German national anthem,
Yeah.
which it is, because my wife, her family's German, they said, because of course in World War II, it was a completely different national anthem there. But for that to then become the unified
Well, I think it's
German
isn't it the
national
EU
anthem?
anthem? Isn't it?
It
I'd have to
may
look that
also be
up.
the, but she told me it definitely has become the
that
unified
right?
German
Aha.
national anthem is the
Yeah.
Ode to Joy.
Well,
And just-
it's and it's a human anthem. It seems to transcend our nation states and draw us together.
absolutely. What goes into? I mean, is there anything you as a conductor have to think about when performing a work of this size? Does you're melding challenging, work for the instruments with challenging?
Yeah, that's something we do in a lot of pieces
Yeah.
is put the instruments and voices together. So that's something we do every year and try to create a balanced and compelling whole. I think the maybe particular challenge is you got to look at the score with fresh eyes, right? We've heard it a lot.
Yeah.
So now and I've been reminding myself of this recently. In fact, as soon as I get through these other concerts, I'm going to take a step back and think about this some more. I think you have to go back and look at the text and look at the notes and think, okay, I've done it a lot. I know it. I've done it this way and that, but I want to make sure, wait a minute, am I seeing it really clearly what was intended? What's the best interpretation that I can think of for all of us at this moment?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but I think this is the first, you've prepared choirs multiple times for this work. You mentioned that in a rehearsal that his score has notes for the different conductors that he was preparing it for with
my God.
dates and like this is so and so's instruction, this is so and so's, and this is the first time you are getting to conduct
right.
the final product.
That's right. Thank
Okay.
you, Christine. Yeah, Christine is exactly right. I first prepared this when I was barely out of college. I helped my mentor prepare it at Cornell, and then I was involved in a performance at Indiana, and I prepared it multiple times, as you say, for multiple conductors. I've also, as most of us have that are in the world, sung it multiple times in various performances. In the chorus, I'm certainly not the soloist. And I'm sure you've sung it before too, right? Or no?
I actually
Oh,
have
amazing!
not.
Oh, I'm excited.
This is your first
this is
time?
my
Oh, I'm
first-
excited.
I've heard
exciting.
it a couple of times.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I've
I'm
actually
excited. I'm
gotten to
excited
sing
about
it.
that. Yeah,
me too.
because she's a very experienced singer. But that's exactly right. And so I prepared it. I have all these sets of markings, and it's almost like you have to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah,
for a
get rid
minute.
of them and say, what do
But
I want?
some of them are very good. I have a score my mentor gave me from Eugene Normandy, from the Philadelphia Orchestra, legendary Hungarian-born conductor, with his markings for
Oh, my
Beethoven
goodness.
9. And so that's very helpful. I mean, you can get great ideas. But the truth is, yeah, you got to still also think about it, try to see it with clear eyes, fresh eyes.
Yeah, combine. Do you combine elements just
Yeah.
as general rule of that? Like, okay, this conductor that I like did it this way. Combine a little bit of what they've done with kind of that fresh look and say, okay, what would I do
Absolutely.
differently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting how much just it is until recently that I think, particularly for people who haven't heard it before. I mean, for people who have heard Beethoven's Ninth before, it is amazing there are differences when you hear it from different conductors and different orchestras. Like it's not like you're going to hear the same stock footage or audio every single time. The differences can be dramatic and moving in different ways.
Yeah. There's not a right answer always. It's just. But I think that's exactly right, and more than one path is possible in the piece. But there are some interesting choices and some great possibilities.
Yeah, I feel like Beethoven's Ninth is one of those pieces. Mahler's Seventh is another one that I know you
we've
and Nick.
listened
He is like, but it's amazing. You'll hear like
20 different versions.
20 different versions. And I'm like, man, that guy, that conductor made that part play so slow. Or wow, there was like more horns in there. The drum, like there's always just something different there, and it's always kind of exciting because pieces like that, you kind of said, you really don't know exactly. You know what's going to sound like in terms of the music, but there's other elements that kind of can spice it up, I guess.
100%.
And you've got some great the soloist. I noticed one that you've recently had is, I think he's the same soloist that did the Petite.
Yes. Our tenor
the Rossini,
soloist.
and he was marvelous in that.
Yes.
So I was looking forward to him
Yes.
coming back.
And the other two, we're still working on our alto soloist, coming soon. Our soprano soloist is Christina Pierre.
Yeah, she's
and
sung
she
with
has
us.
sung with Oratorio Society before. Incredible soprano voice. She's going to be fabulous, and she has sung this before.
It's a Met winner, former Met winner.
And Weston Hurt is our bass soloist.
Yes, he hasn't been
and
heard in town in like 20 years.
He's not been here in a very long time, but he's really excited to be on board for this and coming here.
Also sings at the Met, right?
Also singing, making his debut at the Met this season, actually. So,
Crazy good
yeah,
singer.
Amazing.
really,
The
really
talent you
fantastic
guys are able
Able
soloist.
together. And the pianist we should
And
mention.
the pianist, yes, which we're also delighted, and this has not been in our publicity yet because we've still been
Yeah.
working on the details, but coming soon will be some information about some pre-concert talks that our pianist and Michael Salon together are going to do. Peter Henderson is our pianist, and Michael and he were roommates in grad school.
We were housemates all
Housemates?
the way back in grad
Oh, my
school.
goodness.
So-
Let me tell you. So Peter is the pianist for the St. Louis Symphony right now. He is tremendously talented. Honestly, one of the smartest musicians I know. And so what I'm basically hoping to do in these pre-concert lectures, he does them sometimes for the St. Louis Symphony. He'll interview John Adams or something. I'm going to interview him and just let him share his thoughts about this music and his insights about Beethoven. And I think that is going to be very enlightening for all of us.
And that's going to be free for any ticket holder.
wow.
So, plan to come early.
Come early.
Okay, yes.
More details to come on what that looks like.
That's amazing. And I will say his name because I feel bad not to say his name. Jameson Lee Walker is the tenor
That's
soloist
right.
I was
Jameson
talking
Walker, yeah.
I was talking about because he did that really hard part in the Rossini mass
Yeah.
where he has to go like
Quite high.
Imagine doing like this with your voice. And he did it beautifully. And so when I saw his picture, I'm like, yes, I think I know who that is. And he's coming back to do this. And awesome, again, that you're helping, if you're a ticket holder, to also be a little educated and learn about the piece and Beethoven, and to hear a great pianist's interpretation of how
of
he
the choral
sees
fantasy,
it
yeah.
on the choral fantasy.
And then to hear even though the last movement, like you say, we hear these things a lot on recording, but it's always special when you get to hear it live, when you are in the room and the music is happening. And maybe not perfect like it is on a CD, right? You don't have the editing capability, but it's there live. That's a very inspiring, powerful
The energy and the feeling
experience, yeah.
that you can do it, and just tied to the history of it. I can't imagine we'll be the only one kind of imagining. Oh man,
Do we
what
have
would-
to dress like we were in 18?
No, candles only, please.
No, none of those little Mozart
Get the
wigs,
wig,
you know?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
I don't think Beethoven had one of those.
Probably, yeah. Probably not. He would have torn it off. I mean, any picture that his hair is kind of crazy. But just to imagine just he himself. I mean, there's always the story of the one of the singers turning him around because he couldn't hear the
It's
applause. I mean,
applause.
and poor thing. I mean, he was conducting it even though they had been told.
They had
Don't
another-
listen to
they had another
They had
conductor.
another conductor. Like, don't follow Beethoven. Follow the. But he must have, because you can feel music. You can feel live music even if you can't hear it.
There is something everybody should go look up. Helen Keller wrote, I think we should try to print this in the program, a stunning account of experiencing the Ninth Symphony. I mean, it's and she only could have felt the vibration.
Yes.
Really. I couldn't believe it when someone sent it to me and I read it. I was tearing up. It was so
Wow.
powerful.
Wow.
To your point, because she
Yes.
would have experienced it a little bit in the way Beethoven.
Yeah, exactly. By sense, by feeling the
Vibrations.
vibration
Yeah.
of the music. And you can imagine, I mean, an orchestra and the beauty of the thing about, I mean, I'm sure that you said St. Anne's has nice acoustics as well,
Yeah.
but also Old Cabell,
Yeah.
you will feel
Yeah.
that all of that music in a small space of so many instruments and
Yes.
90 singers really coming in your direction. And I think that's going to just make it such an incredible performance, not just audially, but visually, to see it against that, School of Athens backdrop, to see it, but then also to feel it in the
physically
seats.
and spiritually and
Yes.
musically, all the.
Because I mean, like you said,
All
Michael,
the
it's
above.
it's a piece that changed. I mean, some historians date the switch from classical to romantic period. They put that date as
Yeah.
Beethoven's Ninth premiering, and they say that's when it started, and just the people that were influenced by it, and the world was never quite the same
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's true.
So just an opportunity to hear it here in Charlottesville from just so many talented singers and just I'm looking forward to tremendously, and people should be as well. So I know our audience is. So remind us one more time, Christine, where do people need to go to get tickets? 'Cause I don't think you want
wanna
to wait
miss this.
very long. Yeah.
Yeah, tickets are selling steadily every day, and we have what's today? Yeah, it's more than a month before this concert. So get your tickets; they're selling. Please go to oratoriosociety.org, and you will find everything you need to know there.
Very easy to do, and it'll take you. And then, when you click it, it takes you to a place where you can very easily just click which performance you want, and go from there. So, it really would encourage people to not lose time in doing that. And then, as a quick recap, don't forget tomorrow night at 8 p.m. is the collaboration campaign songs with UVA Center for Politics, and then next Saturday at 8 p.m. the premiere of Eric Eschenwald's Passion of Saint
Right,
Luke,
with University Singers.
with
yeah.
University Singers. So you can find both of those at UVA Archspot's office. So Michael, Christine, I mean, I always love so much
a
when
lot
you
of
both come on. It's such a joy. I
our
really appreciate it. I
pleasure.
know Michael was happy
I know, I
to be
was
here.
happy.
Great to have you.
I know. I felt like in awe. I was just sitting here quiet, just listening to Christine and Michael talk. I'm like, wow.
It's just,
It was
no, and
wonderful.
we really do appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing with us what goes on behind the scenes. I think it's important for people to know, like you go to these performances, or you buy tickets, to know what people are thinking, how it comes about. Because it's so much work that goes into
Not
it.
just that too. Also, it feels like sometimes too. It's also a little more than music.
Yeah.
It's like the passion that people have about what's being played, and Michael talking about mention the Helen Keller thing now. It's like the spiritual, emotional feeling that you will get listening to these pieces. You don't get it listening to an earphone. And I know, I mean, we go to the symphony all the time. It's like you can get the best earphones you want. It's not the same experience. You're there. The music hits you, I mean, I'm a big drums guy. I mean, you hear the timpanis playing, you're kind of vibrating, you hear it, the piano going. It's like, wow. It's a memorable experience. So, I encourage everybody to kind of just, push yourself, go out there, and listen to this.
This is a once-in-a-decade opportunity.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
Right, be sure to take, you don't get Beethoven's Ninth in Charlottesville
Every day.
every year. So take advantage of it while it's here, and while these great people at Oratorio Society are putting it on. Well, thank you both so much for
Yeah.
coming.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to all the
Looking
big
forward
events
to
coming
it.
up.
We'll see you
And
there.
be sure to check out oratoriosociety.org for your tickets. Well, this has been a great show.
Yeah, it really has been.
Really appreciated it. Thanks for coming on with me.
No, thanks for having
It was
me,
super
Alex.
enjoyable.
Thanks for Nick for taking the back seat tonight.
Yep, yeah, he sacrificed. He
He
sacrificed.
sacrificed.
He sacrificed. Next week, we'll have some more great guests. We'll have Jody Mills from Boella Southwest Mountain Vineyards, and then Matthias Yohn for our monthly meetup with Matthias will be coming
Yeah.
on. We'll talk some we'll talk, things to do in Charlottesville, restaurants to see.
I think Southwest Mountain Vineyards is a new winery, isn't it?
I believe so. I
Yes.
believe so. And I've heard they have a very beautiful location.
Out
so I'm
in
looking,
Keswick? Is that the one in Keswick?
I think it's near Keswick area. So we're looking
Yes.
forward to having them on, kind of hearing about their venture
Yeah.
there. Be sure to send us any comments or questions about people that you would like to have. A couple thank yous, of course. Kevin Higgins, thanks for watching the show this morning. Olivia Branch, thanks for watching the show this morning. Nick says Michael is correct. It is the EU anthem as well.
No, not me. That
Yeah,
Michael
Michael.
said.
Yeah, that Michael.
Oh,
yeah.
you pointed at me. I wasn't sure.
No, it was just a pen.
I don't wanna
No,
take credit. I
No,
wanna
no.
take-
This Michael is correct that it is the EU national anthem is Beethoven's 9. So Nick was watching the show as well. So thank you for tuning in. Julianne Watcher Smith says she's tuning in. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming in there. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in today. So. Oh, and I feel bad. I missed a comment from Kevin Higgins who said, "Do you think there's another Luciano Pavarotti out there?" I'm not sure if that's in reference to the guy who belted out in the Christmas concert. There was
Or is
someone
it
in
maybe
the,
talking about Jameson the tenor?
or maybe Jameson the tenor. So not sure what it was reference to.
Well.
Sorry, I missed that, Kevin. But maybe,
That's a
maybe,
special singer, Luciano.
yeah, maybe. we might have to wait a little for that one.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate everyone who tuned in today. Thank you all. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you to Judah behind the camera, making us all look good, keeping it going. Thanks to, of course, the Out of Seville Network set, Emergent Financial Services for presenting, our great partners at Matias Young Realty, Credit, Sirius Insurance. Thank you for being on with me, Michael.
Thank you,
Thank
Alex.
you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, as we like to close it out on the show, hasta mañana.